Hello, beloved. This is a little bit different than what we are used to. It's a little different for me as well. So, you know what I'm saying? I haven't done my makeup in a while. So, I put it together a little bit for y'all, for myself, really, because I think the process is therapeutic. Um, So, as it turns out, there's a lot of change happening. So, the last time we were together, those of you who follow Queen G Creative, I know this is going to be on YouTube, so it's a little different than what we've done before. But for those of you who have a history of following and supporting, know that my plan initially was to do an unfiltered challenge again, similar to the one that we did in December, where we would spend the month being intentional, practicing affirmations, and taking photos that used no face or feature altering filters, which means it can be black and white or sepia, but we are celebrating your natural beauty, how you show up in the world. You all know I love a great filter. Okay. But this is about living an unfiltered life, and we don't want to be dependent on those things to feel valid or valuable or beautiful. And much more than the pictures, this is about showing up as our unfiltered selves, living lives that are unapologetic, that are full of faith, that are adventurous, that are honest and altruistic to our true selves. And that was the plan. But it looks like the Lord has called me to do more of an internal challenge for myself. And I'll share just a little bit about that because I feel like I'm on a really interesting journey and it feels like I'm entering into a new chapter of life. So I want to bring you along with me, at least in the ways that I feel I should, the ways that I can. So I planned to do some kind of reset. I just really saw that there was so much change that happened in my life up until this point. There's so much change that happened in 2020, but 2021 has been a whirlwind in ways that I just did not anticipate. And that included like a really scary fight with COVID. That included suddenly having to relocate. And well, choosing to relocate because of sudden circumstances and changes in business and life, all things that even though some of it wasn't good, it seems to be working for my good. And so I'm grateful for that. I feel like it's a full circle thing. For those of you who don't know, though I still do work in Rhode Island, do some work in Rhode Island, I am a resident of Atlanta, Georgia. And it's super full circle because when I was like 16, 17, I wanted to move here. And it's kind of been a point throughout my life that I always wanted to relocate to Georgia. I mean, I was thinking of Charlotte as a second option, but I fell in love with Atlanta and I just knew that when it's time to buy a home and at some point in my life, like this is where I want to set roots. This is not the way that I thought it would happen. This is not the timeline that I thought it would happen in, but to God be the glory. It was an amazing decision and I am so happy to be here. It feels like things are in alignment. I love it here. I love how black it is. I love how creative it is. And I love how sunny it is. And it feels authentic to me. It feels like I was always supposed to be here and I get to live with two of my favorite people in a great area. I'm near my best friend. I just spent the weekend with my sister and niece and nephew, which is something that rarely ever gets to happen. Or it happened a little more as I got older and was able to fly into Atlanta and go see them there in Alabama. But just being able to drive there, to plan a weekend and drive there, and it is less than 3 hours away, it's just huge for me. So this has been an amazing change. However, it's been a change nonetheless. And people keep asking, like, how are you liking it? How are you settling it in? And the reality is I love it. I love it. Like, work has been going well. I'm adapting to a lot of things well. However, loving it and quote unquote, like settling in are not they're not the same. And I realized that I was lacking something, and in reflection, I realized that that lack was in routine. And I knew that I needed a reset. It was kind of, sorry, y'all, my eye be tearing up sometimes. Um, I knew that I needed routine, and I was lacking that. Like, I'm getting things done, but I'm lacking something. I'm lacking routine that helps me to feel connected and grounded. And I was feeling disconnected, spiritually. I was feeling disconnected in other ways, just generally disconnected. And so I was like, okay, God, like, I'm gonna have to do some kind of reset. And the closer I got to the beginning of June, the more I realized that that was the case. And I didn't know how I was gonna do it. I didn't know what was involved, but I kind of purposed in my heart that I was going to do a reset. Well, it turns out God already had that stuff in alignment. So shortly thereafter, I come across a doctor online, Dr. Tasha Rogers. And for those of you who don't know, I've suffered with PCOS pretty much since puberty. And the way it impacts different women, or different people, it impacts them differently. I know that didn't make a lot of sense. But what I'm saying is that just because you have PCOS doesn't mean you have the same experience. It definitely shows up in your body in various ways, depending on who you are, your genetic makeup, etc. And for me, it has been debilitating, and it has complicated other things in my life. And it's something that I've always persistently struggled with and tried to find an answer to. And being that I'm a fat Black woman, doctors have not been kind. They made all kinds of presumptions, and they often just want to throw birth control at it. And I guess I just got to a point where I was so frustrated that I needed a solution, and I said maybe the reset will help. Well, after I made that decision, I found Dr. Tasha Rogers, and it's the first time in my life that I have absolute clarity on what this condition is, how I can beat it, how I can improve the quality of my life. And it felt like I was empowered, like I was no longer a victim. Sometimes I'm super proud of this body and all that it's done and how resilient it is. But then there are other times where I feel like I'm betrayed by my own body. I feel trapped in my own body, And I'm just super grateful, the timing of me stumbling upon that information and even getting a scientific and biological breakdown of what it is, what the root cause is, which is completely different than what I thought for all of these years. Insight on what impacts it, how to take control. I just had never had that before, and I have been studying and researching this condition for years. I started going to the gynecologist at 15 or 16 because of the condition, because something was wrong and we did not know what it was. Reproductively, things were going awry, and my body wasn't functioning the way normal teenagers with vaginas, it just wasn't functioning like that. And also, I have been an athlete most of my life, basically my entire life, up until that point, and even continuing after. And I was completely active, but I was gaining weight, and it was there was no evidence or reason for it in any of my blood screenings. My levels were great, but they figured that something was wrong. And it turns out that I did have PCOS, and nobody really knew what to do with it or how to treat it. And medical racism really put me in some traumatizing positions. So this is the first time a Black woman healthcare provider is not only incredibly informed and well-researched in this particular thing, but that it was accessible to me. And the crazy thing is that she's in Georgia, in Atlanta, not just Georgia, in Atlanta. And I remember thinking, I don't know where she is, but if she was here, I would totally try to get her as a provider. And it turns out she's accepting patients and she's here. So y'all who know the words of prayer, please pray for me, because I really would like Dr. Tasha to be my doctor. For those of you who don't know, additionally, I also suffer with seizures, and they kind of play off of each other. Both of those conditions, I know they sound separate, but they impact me. It's compounded with that. And then having this post-COVID body where I had to relearn, my body is relearning how to function in the typical way, and it's just not the same as it once was, and that compounds things as well, including like my body just now adjusting to being physically active again, and there are a lot of changes. And so Dr. Chasha just, right? And then she explained some of the treatment that she goes through with her patients, and that involved a lifestyle, a dietary change. Now, those of you who know me know that I believe that my body is a good place to be, and I work towards that even when I don't. And I don't believe in dieting and diet culture. And I very much still felt like I didn't want to be imprisoned by ideas about aesthetics and food, when I feel like food is a gift and my body is a gift. I've been a person who can be fairly disciplined. I haven't been as disciplined as I typically am. I would say the past year, but I'm still fairly disciplined. There's things that I don't do, things that I don't eat, things I'm intentional about including. And that wasn't about weight. That was just about a desire to live an active and healthy lifestyle. And I can say I started making those really conscious decisions when I was about 19 years old, and I'm now 30. And so I've kind of made a lifestyle of that. And I realized that you can make those choices without the restrictions of a diet. So I really wasn't interested in feeling controlled. However, my body is atypical in that I have this condition, and it processes sugar differently. It processes food differently. It's a metabolic issue. It's a hormonal issue that causes my body to overproduce insulin, and that impacts everything else, including my reproductive system, including my weight, including my overall health. And I think I'm at a breaking point of like, I need to see things change. And so she talked about this ketogenic, I believe it's called, the keto diet. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. But then I realized this is what I've been looking for, this doctor, this information, for basically my entire life. And I already told God that I need a reset, and I believe the Spirit told me, and that's the only reason I told God, that I needed a reset. And I didn't just mean food. I do that often, or I have a habit of every few months or something, I'll do a reset, and I'll do a green smoothie cleanse, or I'll eat, strictly vegan, or I'll do a Daniel fast, or I'll do something to reset my body. And those short-term effects and those short-term resets were not enough. Like, I knew internally that there had to be a completely different shift, because I was moving into a different season of life, and my body is different than it's ever been. And it kind of just clicked. And so that's one piece of it where I decided. And that one, I find a provider, I got information, and I'm just ready to make that commitment, even though it's not going to be great. And it's not going to be, well, excuse me, I want it to be great, but I know there are going to be parts that are really difficult and not fun. But I just have a made up mind at this point. And for me, diets, I'm not interested in diets. They don't work, but I think I have to change my whole approach to food. And one of the things that she said was that if somebody was allergic to pineapples, they wouldn't eat pineapples all the time. If somebody was allergic to peanuts, they wouldn't be out there eating peanuts all the time. You have to understand that your body in a way is allergic to sugar. And so you have to adapt your lifestyle in that way. And things just clicked. So that is part of what's happening right now. Also, while I was on vacation, before we officially moved down here to Atlanta, I had this moment and this revelation, this affirmation that said, in essence, I'm going to be paraphrasing, but like, I do not fear the water, for I am buoyant. I do not fear the I do not fear the water, for I float. I do not fear the waves. No matter the wave, I am buoyant. Something to that effect. I will include the appropriate caption somewhere here, or I'll put it in the comments, and or you'll see it as like the main photo when you click on this video. But I have been meeting for like weeks to share that and post that with my social media, and I just hadn't done it yet. But it seems like every time that I pushed it back or something happened, it had a new meaning to me, and it gave me new revelation, and it felt so timely, being that one, we were going on vacation in the midst of like our life being in chaos, and I felt like that was just so symbolic. And two, I'm deeply connected spiritually and emotionally to nature and to the water specifically. I feel like it is freeing and humbling. It makes me feel connected to this infinite source, this masterful creator, and that I am just also a part of creation in this infinite way. But it also helps me to realize that I am finite, and it's liberating and it's freeing and it's grounding. I feel like I can hear God better. I feel like I can see spiritually better. I feel like I am at one, like I'm myself in a way, my true self in a way that I just don't encounter otherwise. Or just these moments I have with God in the water. And so I was floating, and I realized, okay, like I do not fear the water. I'm buoyant. And like, no matter the wave, I will float. Like, I realized as I was thinking and in this place of gratitude and thanking God just for the miracle that I am, and for celebrating life and being able to go on vacation and even being able to make this transition and to do it with peace. And I realized that there have been so many tumultuous waves in my life up until this point, and even up until that part, in that particular context. But I keep floating. And like, just as I was in the water, I could thrash around, I could do all this stuff. But if I just breathe and relax my body, it will do what it is created to do, which is float. And I think that that applied too to me. Like, yes, these waves keep coming, but I don't have to fear them. And it's not about avoiding the waves, because they're going to come regardless. It was more so about relaxing and knowing that it doesn't matter that the waves are coming. It matters that I'm buoyant. It matters that I will float. Even if I get tumbled and tossed around, eventually I'm going to find the space of floating, because that's who God is, and that's how he designed me. And I also think of the Holy Spirit as water, as my living water. I think about this walk with God and this season of pursuing the life that God has for me as the stepping out of the boat. And I felt like I was stepping out of the boat as well. And so that water ties into faith for me. So that was the other thing that stuck. So those are the ideas that I already had. And with everything that I went through the month of May, which was my primary transition month here to Atlanta, it just took on nuance and depth and texture in different ways. And so when I was thinking about the reset, like, it all made sense. Like, yeah, these adjustments and these things that are happening with me and my body and me feeling disconnected, it's not a bad thing. It's an indicator, and it's a good wave that's coming. And it's a reminder also that it's okay to shift and adapt, because I float. And this is like, this is part of the journey. And so I was like grateful for the indicators that were telling me that I was going to float. And so in this idea of reset, it was like a life reset. I feel like God has reset the button on my life, in that I almost lost it, and then planted me here in Atlanta with new beginnings and new opportunities and new community. And I feel like God is saying, okay, everything is coming into alignment. You press reset on everything too. And so like, my church is different. Like, I'm not even at home anymore. I'm still waiting. I'm not a member of a church right now. I'm connected to my home church. I have a church I'm interested here in Atlanta, but that's a change. I'm a person who has moved a lot in my life, but typically with family, or I always end up going back to family. Like, I'll move for school, but I'll come back and visit. So this is the first significant move that I did. I moved with one of my best friends. who's also my assistant. She's my virtual assistant. And this is one of the first moves that it's like a complete shift. Turning 30, complete shift, right? This leaving my corporate job as a business communications professor, with the benefits and all of that, and jumping into my business right before, literally like days before the pandemic shut the world down. Like, that is another significant shift. So I feel like everything is coming in alignment for me to reset. Anyway, and so I decided I was going to do that. So I am now on this ketogenic journey. I have contacted Dr. Rogers, and I hope she accepts me. I have one of my best friends who is a wellness and fitness coach who is going to be my coach through this process. I deleted my social media, so if you see this, it's literally only to share this vlog with you, because like that's it for me. Like, I'm taking a break, and it takes courage to do that when you build your brand through social media, when you gain clientele and you consult people and you do all that through social media. And as a creative and an artist, I express myself through social media, but it's worth the risk, it's worth the investment, and it is what it is, baby. It is what it is. So I turn that off for the moment being. It still exists. I may check for ministry things, but otherwise, like, I've deleted the apps from my phone. I am meditating and getting back into journaling daily. Um, and it's already been phenomenal. Like, it's already been so good. And I am like taking vitamins that help me to sleep so that I can change my sleep schedule of getting better quality rest. And I'm going to bed earlier and waking up earlier in the morning, and I'm figuring out what my routine is for my life. Like, when I wake up on certain days, what do I do? And I'm also doing a squat challenge, so trying to do 100 squats a day, almost every day, if not every day, like at least 5 days a week, 100 squats a day, doing some HIIT. I'm reincorporating that into my life. And the journaling is a big thing because I am a writer and I love that, but I can fall off very easily, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm trying to find a method that works for me in the season that I'm in. And so far, so good. It feels different. I've done the like resets before, but again, they are important and impactful, but often temporal. So this is more about resetting my whole life, not just doing a dietary reset or just a spiritual reset or a work reset, but I'm really doing it for my whole life. And I'm also revisiting, it's a perfect time, right? Halfway through the year, the month before my birthday. I think the timing is perfect. And I want to help set the tone for how the rest of my 20s, I might look at my baby. Actually, I think I just look cute. Like, I'm in my 30s, and I'm okay with looking like I'm in my 30s. But I want to set the intention for this decade. I also was complaining about like dating and stuff. And I had some negative experiences. The men here are super fine, but there can be a lot of trifling things that I've encountered. And so I deleted my dating apps for now because I'm doing a complete reset. I am also in my time meditating. And, of course, there's part of my day that I spend in the Word, but I'm taking a completely different approach to how I meditate and how I listen to the Spirit. And that's one of the things that I'm bringing before God in a very intentional way, and really picturing and thinking about, what is it that you've promised? What is it that I need? What is it that I desire? And being very intentional about how I approach that, instead of just being negative and complaining. I really want to be proactive in what I pursue and be positive, and function from a place of blessing and abundance and not a place of lack. And so I am excited for you all to go on your own journeys, but I'm excited to share this with you in the ways that in the ways that I can. And I'm mostly excited for the stuff that you don't see, that you won't see immediately, but the stuff that I will be able to see in the way that I am spending time with myself and curating a life that I love, that one that's filled with rest and love and purpose and a radical gentleness and sweetness and the little things and peace and community and vulnerability and joy. I'm excited to cultivate that. I already have a life that I absolutely love, and I'm excited to see the ways in which I can advance that even more. So this is an update for you all. That's what's happening with me. If you see me not engaging, that's why. If you were looking for the unfiltered challenge and you don't see it, this is what's going on. I'm unfiltering myself first. And then we can dive back in together. Also, your girl turning 31 next month. I'm very excited about this. I'm going on a family vacation, which is incredible. We've never done one before. We're like nieces, nephew, mom, siblings, cousins, aunts, we are all going on vacation together. Your girl is fully vaccinated. So I'm excited about that. And I think this reset is going to be wonderful to delve into my personal new year, which I believe birthdays are your personal new year. And I just love this life. I just love this life with the Lord. I love this life with you all. I love this life with loving myself intentionally and lavishly, this life of lavish love. So I am looking forward to checking in. I cannot make any promises about how often I'll check in, how long these videos will be. I mean, this is already like a sitcom episode, and it's long, but thank you for rocking with me, and soon. So here is to the reset. I love you, and just a reminder, if you stumble across this video, it's not by accident. It means that purpose isn't finished with you, and neither am I. So if you are alive, if you feel your heart beating in your chest, that means that you have to keep living. And I am Queen G. For those of you who don't know, I'm Queen G of Queen G Creative. I am your favorite multi-hyphenate. And hopefully, if you like what I'm doing, if you like what I'm talking about, you can go to my website at queengcreative.com. Follow me on socials, even though I'm not posting right now, at Queen G Creative. And you can check out my podcast, The Royal Room with Queen G, where we turn the taboo into table talk and affirm the phenomenal in you. I love you, beloved. You are needed. You are wanted. You are incredible. You're an amazing idea that God had, and I'm so excited to be in community with you.